Hi, welcome to On the Ride 25. This is our 4th episode. I'm here with Scott.
How you doing?
And we have a special guest, Chris DeMarchi.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And look forward. We're going to go over a bunch of stuff. We have a special segment we're going to talk about Chris about his long racing career and some other things that some fears in cycling and different things that usually aren't talked about. First of all, I want to apologize for being off for a few weeks because I went on vacation to Asia to meet my son and do some scuba diving. So it was definitely worth it. Before that, I went to Cabda. It was a small event, but it looked like a little bigger than it was last time. One of the things I did see, a lot more optimism than there was before. It seems like the manufacturers feel that things are heading in the right direction. Feels like there's going to be like maybe a reset of stuff. I think pricing is going to change. I mean, the tariffs are going to kind of override that, but it seems like that's leveling off. So it seems like people are trying to be a little more competitive in different price ranges. And I think it seemed like they were talking about less models, more, good, better, best, trying to be a little more concise with their lines. So other than that, there was a few, it was always fun to see like the new shoes and new colors and new stuff like that. So, that was good, but there was nothing earth shaking there. I think most of the people saved it for
Sea Otter.
Sea Otter. Yeah. So that was a big thing. So that's that. So that's our big recap for the last 3 weeks we've been gone. And now we'll have Scott's famous race recap, which is called
Comments from the Unqualified. So right now we're in the rest day of the Giro. So there's not much to talk about. We're 3 stages in. Earlier this season, I talked about how Mads Pedersen couldn't buy a win. Lidl Trek with Mads Pedersen, they're on fire right now. He's doing really great. He's currently in the leader's jersey going into the first rest day. I'd also talk shit on Wout van Aert earlier this season, and I'm going to continue to talk shit on Wout van Aert. He is not having the season that I'm sure he hoped, and I'm certain he's not having the season that Visma Lisa Bike had hoped for either. That's pretty much about it. We'll probably have another podcast, probably with the wrap-up of the Giro. Probably by the time we do our next one after this one, we'll probably be wrapping up the Giro about that time. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe we'll try to get one out a little sooner than last one. We won't go like the 2.5, 3 weeks. We'll try to get another one out pretty quickly, but we'll definitely be in the meat of the Giro or the end of it.
Oh, for certain. Roglic is looking strong. He's the head-on favorite right now, and he looks fairly unbeatable, at least 3 stages in. But it's Primož Roglic, so he's going to have a moment at some point.
He will crash at some point.
And one bad day. How bad will this bad day be?
Yeah, that happens.
We all agree on that. I don't think we're alone in thinking that. We've seen it enough times. So if it doesn't happen, I would be surprised. So that's pretty much it for the race recap on for this episode.
He's notorious for letting a big break go up the road and somebody else taking the jersey, and then he's got to battle it back. But he doesn't panic. But he will crash, and then he'll make it difficult on himself and his team, but he probably will prevail.
I agree. I think we all agree on that one. I would not bet against him, that's for sure.
No.
All right, well, let's talk about Chris DeMarchi. Some of the local guys, most of you guys that have been cycling for years know him. If you haven't been around for the last 5 years since he's moved to Hawaii, maybe not. But he's been around. But Chris will give us a little recap of your cycling career when it started a million years ago. We were racing together to your Ram and a bunch of other things. So tell us a little about it.
Yeah, I started cycling. I went off to college, Cal Poly, bought a mountain bike to get around campus, and literally was like, oh, there's a mountain bike club. I think I'll join that because I needed something to do. And then next thing I know, they're like, hey, you're pretty good. You should join the collegiate club. I'm like, what's that? Collegiate racing. You should do that. And literally like a month later, they duct taped my feet to a pink Centurion bike. And I did a hill climb time trial because I showed up with mountain bike shoes and they were road pedals. I had no idea. I won the time trial. It was great. And a year later, I was like full-fledged racing. And it was just super lucky. And I remember walking in cycle 30 years ago and meeting Dom, like super funny, and then my cycling career took off. I took it very serious. I had some major injuries along the way. I'm a 7-time national champion though, U.S. national champion. I've run a junior program with Monster Racing. I've run a U23 program, a women's program, a master's program. So I feel pretty accomplished, in our small little community. Cycling has been, it's just been amazing for me. The people that you meet, the community, the surrounding, the racing from, just in SoCal to then branching off and racing all the big pro races around the U.S. and a few races. I raced world championships in Austria for the U.S. I got 5th place as a Masters. It was Masters 35 plus. But that was really cool too, to put on the U.S. kit and say oh, this is awesome, and I got 5th place.
That's an amazing accomplishment.
I thought that was really good in a road race.
And you're not a little guy, so
right? Yeah,
he's a little bigger than he was then, but he's always been pretty big for.
Yeah, I've always been big.
Always been
the best. The best weight I've ever dropped to was about 174, and consequently, that was for San Dimas Stage Race. That's a local race. It was a race I always wanted to win, and I did. And not only did I win, but I won all 3 jerseys. I won the polka dot, the green, and the yellow. And that was a big deal for me. And, but I remember that off season, I probably climbed GMR 200 times in 3 months. I just up and down, up and down. I'd go up at 3 or 4 times in a day. I knew every angle of the road of that climb. But that's what these mountains here give you, and if you have the passion and the drive, this is the greatest training place in the world, for sure, at least in the United States.
And you also did this little race called RAM.
Yeah, I've done RAM 5 times.
What is RAM? Not everyone knows what RAM is.
So RAM is a race across America. It's Oceanside to Annapolis, Maryland. So California to ocean to Annapolis, Maryland. It's almost always the same course. It's 3,090 miles. They just changed it for the first time. The finish now is in Atlantic City. It's, like I said, 3,090 miles ish and 270,000 feet of climbing ish. The 2 records I'm most proud of, and it's really hard to wrap your head around it, but the 5 days, 1 hour crossing the country. You're wow, can you even do that in a car? And then 24.94 miles an hour.
Wow. That is no joke.
That's our average speed is almost 25 miles an hour with 270,000 feet of climbing. So it's a really cool experience. It's, and I've also supported it once. I supported it last year for Jonathan Moore, and he did really well as an individual. And I don't think I'd ever do it as a single rider. That's a whole nother different level of everything, mental fitness. You just have to be prepared for, you have to build your neck muscles up to be on your bike for 35 hours. It's just a whole different ballgame.
Wow. So let's talk about sometime last year, you're riding your bike like you always do, and something was completely different and changed your life on that day.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
Typical Tuesday morning, went out on the local group ride in Hawaii, of all places. And 7:30 in the morning, descending down a 6% grade, maybe 4% grade. I was doing 24 miles an hour, cruising. We actually had a visitor on the group ride. And so we typically... we go down this cool road. There's ocean views on one side. It's real tropical, rainforesty, and it's a local community, Captain Cook. And as I was descending, a lady coming up, I was first in line. She crossed over the double yellow, and she did it so fast, so quick. I couldn't even grab my brakes. It was so fast. The last thing I remember was just get my head above her car. That was it. And I didn't know this at the time, but she was in a Honda Accord, a new Honda Accord. And I hit the glass, went through the glass, was in the car with her. She's freaking out. And I suffered I took 47 staples in my side where the glass just cut me. I broke my leg. I broke both hands because when I hit the car, I was kind of bracing for it. I broke 4 ribs. I broke my sternum. I slashed my kidney, and I slashed my liver. I mean, it made it all to those major organs. There was a doctor on the ride, which I felt blessed to have the calmness, but I was in so much pain. I was in and out of consciousness. But in any case, yeah, I got hit. And, out of the hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of miles I've ridden and raced, I never had the big one. And then I had the big one. And it changed everything about me. It changed everything about my riding, my thinking, my lifestyle. My body's healing at 53 years old. I'm healing fast, but not as fast as I am when I'm 30, and so that's a little rude awakening. I'm still numb everywhere. And they said it might take another 2 years for that feeling to come back, or it may never come back. But I think the biggest thing for me is, and I would have never, ever thought about it ever, but the PTSD, like the inability for me to just ride on a road with a narrow bike lane today. I mean, I've got the radar. I can see the cars coming. I got a camera. I mean, I got the blinking lights going, and my headspace, it's still not right. And I did seek help. I reached out to a couple riders that I know had big accidents that got help through psychiatrists just to help them through it. And you got to stay positive and realize, like, hey, this is my passion. This is what I love to do. I mean, even today, I still ride about 200 miles a week because I love it. But I'm very choosy about the roads I ride on. Group rides, everything. Like, I did the cow ride the other day, and stuff that would never bother me before, where a rider is just kind of riding outside the bike lane. And it's okay, like, somebody's outside the bike lane by a foot or two, but then there's a rider that's like 4 feet outside the bike lane. That wouldn't really bother me before. Now, like, It really bothers me. I notice it. And sometimes I, might say, hey, just kind of scoot over a little bit, or sometimes I don't say anything, it's not my place. And then sometimes I'm like, it is my, I need to say something. Like, it's making me uncomfortable now. This isn't the right place to do it. And look, we as cyclists need to be super responsible with what we're doing and how we're riding, because one bad cyclist on the road that's weaving in and out of traffic, or, gives all of us a bad name, right? And that's when you get the bad cars that do bad things to cyclists. But, if we band together and do the right stuff, and look, the lady who hit me, it was an accident. She didn't do it on purpose. She crossed over the double yellow line. Maybe she was on her cell phone, probably on her cell phone. She makes that same drive every day into work. I wasn't vicious towards her. I didn't try to sue her. She had 3 kids, young mom. I took my lumps where I needed to, and I'm learning from it. But my head is definitely not right. It's taken a long time to get my head right.
I think it's great to hear from you, because obviously, as accomplished as you are, most cyclists don't want to admit, that there are fears in cycling. I mean, for the people who don't know, I broke my back cycling, mountain biking 8 years ago, and I still have that. That pucker factor has gotten much lower for me. Right. Where I was never a great descender, but I was at least an average, mediocre descender. I could stay with the pack, and now I'm like, if I don't know it, or I feel like people are moving too much, I'm like, and I can't.
Right.
I can't force myself to get through that. And at this point, I'm 62 years old. I don't care. I finally don't care anymore. I'm like, fuck it. If I get dropped on this descent, fine. If I don't, I'll catch back up, or I won't.
Right.
But it's hard to, for a cyclist to talk about it. I mean, I'm sure everybody has some fears when they're riding, because what we do is it's freaking dangerous. I mean, I'm talking about the racing and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember my very first big crash was at Valentine's Day Massacre. You know, they call it that for a reason.
Oh yeah, probably turn 4.
You know, last turn, last lap.
Always the last turn.
I'm literally, I can see there's only one person in front of me. I have this, but my teammate bumps me and I go down. You know, all roll, scrape. You know, and the funny thing is, after I got all bandaged up and stuff, I had promised my wife at the time that we're going to go out for Valentine's Day, and we still did. But I still had to do it. But you know, and that didn't affect me. So it's funny how, you know, different things have different meanings to it. Because, you know, even we've all crashed, you know, and and there's just that one that changes things for you, I think. And it's good. It's good for, I think, for us cyclists to be able to talk about it. Like you know, no one wants to say, hey, I don't really want to hit that, or I don't hit that descent so hard, or, you know, that group is too sketchy, I'm going to pull off the back. Nobody says that because everyone's, you know, the average person is going to look at you and say, oh, that guy's a pussy. Right. You know, instead of being like, hey, no worries, dude. You know, it's just not that. It's not the culture, the cycling culture that we're used to. I don't know about, you know, Scott's never been a racer, but I'm sure you have something to add to this.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely decked it more than once. Bud's ride, I definitely saw pavement one day, and it hurt bad. And it took a minute for me to want to get back out there and do that ride again. And we've talked about that ride a little bit before here on the podcast. That's the local ride around here. If you want to test to see where you are, go and do Bud's, and you'll find out where your fitness stacks up, and you'll ride with some real hitters, or at least local hitters for sure.
Oh yeah, local hitters here are real hitters.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it wasn't anybody's fault. I got wrapped into it. It was something that happened in front of me. I had nowhere to go, and right over the handlebars and on top of another guy, broke a frame. And not my frame, his frame, because I landed on his bike.
Better him than you on this one.
Yeah. And my rear wheel got ran over, and it got tacoed to the point where it wasn't even going to spin in the frame anymore. So I got a ride home that day, and it takes a minute.
Yeah.
It takes a minute to come back from that stuff.
Well, fun fact, one of my worst crashes is at Valentine's Day Massacre. I broke my hip, and, you know, it's always Valentine's Day Massacre. Got out of the hospital, and my wife took me to dinner that night with a broken hip in a wheelchair. That's the way it is. That's the way you got to do it, though.
I think that's a tradition of almost every racer in SoCal. At some point in time at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, you've been down.
Yeah.
It's the one race, because everyone, for you guys who don't realize that race, it's not, the course is fine. It has nothing to do with the course. It just happens to be like the official first.
Yeah, it's the kickoff race of the year.
Where everyone thinks that, hey, I'm ready to go. You know, there's a few races before, but they don't seem to matter in SoCal. But when you hit St. Valentine's Day race, it is like, hey. And back a few years ago, it was a big race. You know, everyone used to come out to it.
It was the kickoff.
Yeah, and every local pro would come out to it. So it meant a little more back then too. So everyone was jacked, everyone from the Cat 4s, Cat 5s, because you would see like the team buses there. So, you know, that gives you always gives you extra juice. You know, as you move up, you know, it's the same thing. So I don't know what it is about that race, but it's called St. Valentine's Day Massacre for a reason.
Yeah.
And has lived up to its billing.
Yeah. Well, back, you know, you're raising some good points about racing and, you know, the balls you got to have, right, to be in those sprints. And, you know, for me, I was I won coming through the ranks. You know, Cat 5s were easy, Cat 4s were easy, Cat 3s, you know, easy. Cat 2s, the sprinting became, okay, now I got to get aggressive. Now I got to start bumping. I'm a big rider. It's easy for me. Cat 1, okay. You know, as soon as you enter that pro ranks, you know, I had teammates like Rashawn Bahati and Eric Marcotte, some of the best sprinters in the country. So my role was, hey, with 3 laps to go, just lay it out, string it out. And I didn't want to be in the bubble. Those guys were so good at being in the bubble and bouncing off people. And Rashawn that guy could find a crack. You know, a blade of grass grows in, and he would find it, and he won a lot of races. And because I knew he was back there doing that, I was just driving it, until I just couldn't drive it anymore. And sometimes, I'd pull off and coast in for 6th, 8th, 10th, whatever. It didn't matter. The goal was to win the race, but boy, oh boy, these guys. And, you talk about Corey and Justin. They're the same way. They came, same grassroots program, find the crack in the bubble and stick in it. And those guys are unbelievable. I'm not wired that way. I don't have it.
On the Bahati thing, I've never seen anyone go through a field like him, because he tail guns till the end, and he rides right through the middle of the field. And there's his handlebars, he's probably running 40s back then, and there's maybe 41 centimeters to get his handlebars through.
Right.
And he's through, because you try to follow him. Everyone tries to follow him back through the field. Nobody can.
Yeah, I loved racing with him, against him, as my teammate.
And he can turn.
I've
never seen anyone.
He's a fantastic rider.
Turn a bike like that guy.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah. So. Fantastic. But you got to have this, this no fear chromosome in some cases. Like these guys in, pro tour sprinting at 39, 40 miles an hour up against the barriers. It's insane. Like, wow.
It's the whole nother level. It's just, even at my peak, I was never a good sprinter. So, he moved up to the field really quickly. I was the guy who got 3rd through 10th on a regular basis. So it took me a lot longer to get through the fields and upgrade than it took him. And back then you lost your points every 12 months. So, now you keep them forever.
Right.
Yeah. So you would get 12, 14, 15, 18, and then all of a sudden they'd start dropping off.
Right.
So it took me a while, and plus I didn't have the talent or the drive that you had. So that's a whole nother story. But okay, so it's an interesting story. I think the interesting is that I think it'd be nice for the community to kind of embrace that not everyone is as much courage as everyone thinks they do. Everyone has this bravado. It'd be nice to if someone says, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable doing this." Don't say, "Come on, man, you could do it." Just say, it'd be nice to be
right. Yeah.
Just relax. Do what you feel.
Passive encouragement.
Yeah. Just do what you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah. On the group rides, the group rides are great. And that's the group rides here, people that live in SoCal or NorCal need to understand, the group rides here are awesome. They're bigger here than anywhere else. Arizona's got some really good ones. But then in the group rides, they got to look out for one another. People don't realize, if you have a radar on your bike, that hooks up to 5 computers. 5 other people can see your radar. If they go to their Bluetooth at a group ride, they can see your radar and hook to it. So that's 5 people that will be able to see their computer and see cars coming from behind, or their computer will alert them. They can shut off the sound, or they can turn the sound on. But you could literally have a group of 20 working on 5 computers or 4 radars, and everybody would see what's going on behind them. And people need to realize that. Sometimes I'll be at a group ride if I don't have my radar with me, but most of the time I have it with me, and I'll just search and I'll just boom, there's a radar. And then you can tell, when that person gets dropped, oh, there went my radar. I'll find another one.
This leads me into a question that I kind of want to ask both of you guys. When I got into cycling, probably about 10 years ago now, roughly about that time, when I started coming out and riding with you guys on the Cal Ride, and you were still a major force in the area back then. And I saw a lot of your back on the Cal Ride because you were always at the front whipping it. And but one thing that I have noticed over the decade or so of group rides that I've been doing regularly, we have definitely lost that patron figure, that the group leader, the guy that you knew was looking out for everybody.
Right.
He was going to drive it hard on that section of the road where we all knew you were going to drive it hard, and when we were going to go easy, he was going to enforce that too.
Right.
And if traffic was heavy, hey, we're gonna chill it out. We're gonna shut it down. Right. And I feel like we don't, more and more as the years go by, either somebody doesn't want to have that role, or guys that will take on that responsibility don't get respected.
Yeah.
I don't know 100% about that. Have you been on the Cal Ride?
Have I been on the cow ride? Yeah.
Do I not?
You're probably
No, it's
you're
legit.
probably the last one. But
For this ride and probably the bagel ride, because I've done them for so many years and I always look out for. And now I'm at the dad role, the old man role. I'm like, hey, don't run the light, don't. And people. So I'm not the guy at the front of the ride every time, but I'm also the guy yelling at people if they're out of line, if they're not doing what they should be doing. And I still get a little bit of that respect for just out of. I've done it for so many years, I think. But I agree, because like you go to Montrose, Montrose is the only big ride left the really big ride, because they've all kind of disintegrated over the years. It's still gigantic, and it's and it's broken up into like 3 different groups now.
And that's part of the reason why it's still big, because they have the slow, medium, fast groups.
But there is no leader. Like you said, look, in the old days was Steve Lubanski. You remember him? He was out there. He would like. I remember when I used to go out there, but I thought the ride was safer back then. When he was out there, he would they call him chirp because he would chirp and keep people in line. But now it's like surrounding going around cars all the way around.
I mean, but look, like we've been doing Montrose 30 years. And there's 3 times as many signals,
right,
than there were 30 years ago.
For sure.
I mean, let's just take the Buds ride, right? I still think like Montrose can be fast and it's longer and it has fast sections, but I think the overall fastest group ride for 30 miles is Buds.
Oh, 100%.
It's crazy fast. And over the years, we've ridden on chip seal, we've ridden on butter smooth pavement, and then they started installing signals, and then people were and when they installed signals, people were like, okay, we got to stop at those signals. We have to stop at those. Well, that lasted not very long, and then people don't respect them, and then it's like, you're in the breakaway, and you've got a minute on the field, and you're busting your ass, and you're like, ooh, I got the signal. But you know what? Most of us stopped. And then you would get one guy that runs it. You chase him down and be like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? But, training now has changed where, people go home and they train on Zwift and in a TV with a group ride that on TV has no signals. They don't stop. They are super competitive with one another. It's all about performance, and then they transition to a real ride and they ignore the signal. They ignore what's going on. And I think that's part of what you're saying, is there's less respect between riders, because on a TV, you're a keyboard warrior. On a bicycle racing, you can weight dope if you want to and stay in the front, right. Whatever you want to do, right? You can't do that on the road. Yeah. And so it's very interesting to see where the group rides are going, but I got to tell you, if people can embrace group rides, I live in a place now where the group rides, we'll get 5, 12, 7. I mean, Hawaii is just not the cycling mecca you would think it is. And people need to realize, like, if they can go out to a Montrose and see 80 people, that's pretty amazing. Oh, yeah. To ride with 80 people and the experiences you get from that. I mean, you got to love that. You got to love that.
Yeah, it absolutely shocks me that you guys don't have a bigger bike community there on the island. I mean, I was so jealous when I heard that, Chris DeMarchi's moving to Hawaii. I'm like, man, he's going to live
Kona,
the dream.
of all places, too, which is the Ironman capital.
It's where the Ironman is. Right. I mean, we have the Ironman course always set up. We got the swim buoys always set up. The run course, you can run it anytime you want. It's all there. Yeah. And, I own a company, Hawaii Epic Cycling there, and we just do really super epic tours. I mean, we have 2... we have the hardest climb in the world being Mauna Kea, and then we have Mauna Loa, which is, in the top 7 or 8 hardest climbs. It's probably dropped a little bit since the lava flow. It took out a couple thousand feet of the road. And then we have some major climbs. I mean, Lance Armstrong himself has said, we have a 6-mile climb. He says, I think it's harder than any climb in Europe. for a 6 mile climb. It's brutal. I mean, it's 6 miles and you gain 6,100 feet. Like, it's crazy hard. And, on the highway, on the Ironman course, at any given time, if you go out for 112 miles, you're going to see 40 or 50 cyclists, but not in groups. And especially since Hawaii, since January 1, has passed some laws that aren't cyclist friendly. You can't ride, if you can't have tour groups of 2 or more. If you want a tour group of 2 or more, you have to have permits and you have to pay for that. And it's expensive. If there's certain roads you're not even allowed to ride on anymore, they just completely shut down. Kahala Mountain, Kahala Road. It's one of the most beautiful climbs in our entire island. It's awesome, and can't ride bikes on it. Just, you'll get pulled over. The locals will call the police and you'll get pulled over. It's not illegal for a single person to ride on it. I could go ride it, but there's signs on both ends of this beautiful climb. It runs from basically north to south, kind of. And there's signs that, you can climb it from both ends and descend it. And there's signs that say, like, no commercial cyclists, no commercial bikes allowed. Okay? None. Even a tour group cannot ride that road of any type. But people, the drivers or the locals, they don't see the word commercial. They just see bikes. Cyclists, no cyclists. So they'll call, and the police, we have great police, and they'll address you and tell you, like, hey, be safe out here if you're by yourself. And if you search on Facebook, there's a lot of angry cyclists that come to the Big Island to ride, and they've gotten pulled over for something. So it's something that needs to be changed, because Hawaii passed a law a while back when we first moved there, that said basically all roads need to be able to equip cyclists, one-wheelers, everything, cars, wheelchairs, you name it. A road needs to be built so everybody can use it. Mass transit, right? And in fact, we've got a one-wheel club that goes around the island that is now, they can't go around the island any longer, And so there's these laws in place, but then you have these other, laws kind of mucking the waters. We just don't know, what's going on. But the cycling is great there. The mountain biking's not so hot. The gravel's pretty good. But the road riding and Mauna Kea, like if you want to attempt a hard climb, it's hard. It's an 8-hour climb.
So I rode with you out there. It didn't feel like there was like a huge community like there is here. There's not like you have a meetup. You meet up with, like I said, 5 guys, 7 guys, 12
Right.
guys. There's no. Is it? There's not that many cyclists, or it's just not part of the DNA of cycling on that island. Which one is it?
Yeah. So there's a lot of cyclists, but remember, it's Ironman territory. So you got a lot of people that train by themselves. A lot of people. And like the kind of rule is, right, if you're not a experienced pro cyclist, don't bring your TT bike out to the Buds ride. Don't do that. That's kind of bad etiquette. But if you're really good on your TT bike and you can hammer the front and everybody can drag your wheel, great. Yeah, bring it out. So there are a lot of cyclists, but they ride individually. Ones and twosies, and then we have the let's meet at Target at 8:00 on a Saturday or a Thursday, or let's go do, hills on Tuesdays and meet at 7:00 in the morning. And you'll get groups of 5, 7, 10, 12. It depends. They get bigger during the winter. We'll get 12 to 16, 18 in the wintertime because the snowbirds come in. And so that's good. But yeah, a lot of individual riders. You'll see a lot of the same riders that just ride all by themselves. And they don't want to be in a group. They think it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's very non-SoCal.
It's very non-SoCal. So coming here and, I climbed GMR the other day. I went out and did the cow ride. I went and raced down the Triton crit. Or was it yesterday? Yeah, I did 2 races down there. Super fun. Like, I just was having a blast. Old memories.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Scott, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You were supposed to tell us about BWR. So let's I'm not only telling you, but Scott was training for BWR. We talked about it on 2 of the last 3 episodes, and let's hear your race report.
So BWR this year didn't happen. Went down for a recon ride and got the shit beat out of me and my bike. The rear rim took a severe beating and is now unrideable. The carbon came apart on that, and seeing pretty good sections of that course this year. A lot of it have changed this year, and 3-foot water crossings. I showed you a picture of it. It was insane. My training wasn't up for it. It's one thing to be highly trained and be completely gassed at the last aid station and be like, okay, I got 20 miles. I can keep it together for 20 more miles. And it's something entirely different when you didn't put the training in and you're going to be gassed at aid station number 2. So between seeing that the course changes this year were well outside of my comfort level. 2, I didn't put the training in, and 3, I was suffering on already bike damage. It wasn't in the cards. It was better to pull out, save it for another day, and look for another big endurance event to do maybe later in the season or early next year.
Yeah, I mean, BWR can bring, all their courses, they're just crazy. But I think this year, San Diego, I can't speak on the terrain part of it because I didn't look at the map, but it was 104 miles, which is the shortest they've ever had.
It was shorter.
And the least amount of climbing they've ever had.
Yes.
But the terrain was pretty gnarly.
Fairly technical stuff.
And
dirt is not where I'm the most comfortable at all.
Yeah.
And some of the older sections that I did, even on the recon ride, the ones that you'd be familiar with, man, I did BWR in 2021 and 2022, and going back down there now in 2025, those sections have taken a beating. I mean, these are derailleur ripping rocks now. These aren't just
rain.
Yeah, a lot of the weather, and I think the traffic that those sections are getting.
Oh, right.
Just people going down there and riding these sections over and over and over again. They're no longer, it's a little baby rock garden. No. These are derailleur ripping, rocks now and roots, and I don't want to take anything away from those that did it. I mean, kudos to all of them. It was going to be shorter distance and less elevation, but harder.
Okay.
Yeah. Technically way more challenging.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, I read after a lot of the comments were that it's like at a tipping point. Like, are you, it was 5-6 years ago, you could ride it on a road bike. And now where people are saying you almost need a full suspension bike. It's kind of like, it's kind of switched. Maybe that's the direction their customers want to go. I don't know. It's like, it seems less, to me, it's less interesting because, gravel is supposed to be a gravel ride.
Right.
It's not supposed to be a single track mountain bike ride on your gravel bike.
I think in 18 or 19, all 5 times I've done the BWR San Diego, I've done it on a road bike. I think in 18 or 19, I got 3rd overall. Cam Wharf. Just can't beat that dude. And Phil Tensman got 2nd. I got 3rd. I rode 28 Tufo sew-ups.
Oh, yeah.
28s. And I remember like Lake Elsinore, was it not Lake Elsinore? Lake Hodges.
Yeah.
Just ripping through that sand and just like hold on and like let your handlebars go. Just wherever your front goes, you go. Because we're ripping through there at 28 miles an hour. And it wasn't, it was a little bit rocky. You kind of had to watch out for, but no real rock gardens. It was one little section, one little river crossing. Just crazy. But get on the road and then you're hammering again. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So, the last year I did BWR, I did it on a gravel bike, and I think I was running like 30, maybe Gravel Kings, maybe 38s. I think I was running on that. And and I slid out in a corner. And we were about 60 miles in. I slid out in a corner and I broke off my BOA, and it wouldn't reattach. And I was like, my race was done. You know, I just couldn't, my foot wouldn't stay in my shoe.
Sure.
But fun racing. I mean, the BWR is fun racing, but maybe they'll take some of the comments and realize what they're doing. And
I don't know what, that customer. It's not me. So, but obviously, I don't know. We'll see. The customers will let them know. They'll either
for sure.
They'll either not come back or they'll say they love it.
Yeah.
So, but first of all, thank you very much for coming, Chris.
Oh, thanks for having me. You guys are great.
Yeah, it was great to see you again.
You guys need to be doing this a lot because the cycling community needs this. They need real people with, they can relate to, and people watching, real conversation. It's not made up. And
no, that's the whole idea behind this. It's just the community and, trying to get, different, we had Holly last week, we have you this week, and we're trying to get just different people from different walks of life and different experiences. Because as a cyclist, especially, older generation cyclist that I am,
right?
I've lived them all, so it's been great. And for people that are coming through it, they know what's coming in the future. What they look forward to or not to look forward to, or things to avoid. It's I think it's a fun.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a fun show, and then we thank everybody who watches it. I thank you guys all. Oh, first of all, I want to thank Jess. Made us some custom On the Ride 25 socks. Thank you, and enjoy your time moving to Utah. Thank you all for watching. Do the routine. Like, subscribe, blah blah blah.
Send us a comment, even if you don't like us. If you like us, send us a comment. If you don't like us, send us a comment. I'll take the hate. I love it.
Who should we have next? Tell us what local rider, local industry guy, something that you'd like to see next. Let us know, because
I loved seeing Holly on, because she's really accomplished rider over the years. She's just been really accomplished, and she's very goal oriented, and something that I understand. But I can tell you, even without talking to her winning the last day of Redlands is her greatest
100%
career highlight ever. And I've seen her win big races. I've seen her do some amazing things, but I can tell you she could retire tomorrow and be totally satisfied. That was awesome. And to have her on and
but
talk
she's way
about
too
that.
driven to do that.
Oh yeah, she's not retiring.
But it's true though. She could never have another result, and that's a great one.
Yeah, I was super stoked to see that.
Well, thank you again, Chris.
Thanks,
yeah, thank you.
And next time you're in California, we'll have you back on.
Yeah.
If you want to come back on, thank you again.
No, thank you for
Scott,
sure.
We're going to get you back out for another ride, another group ride soon.
And I love it. I love
before
it.
you head home.
Or maybe you guys can come to Hawaii and do a podcast from there.
Oh,
I'm down. It'll be a pickleball podcast, but that's a whole nother story.
Pickleball.
Well, we're gonna have some pickleball on one of these podcasts coming up, I'm sure.
I love it.
Thank you again, everybody.
30 hours of pickleball last week.
I never played so many. If you can see half of my pickleball on my Strava too, by the way. Thank you again. Anything else you want to add, Scott?
No, that's it. Keep watching, keep liking, and we'll keep bringing it to you. We've got no sponsors, so we're not beholden to anybody. We say whatever the hell we want.
That's right. But if you do want to sponsor us, we're definitely willing to give you a plug. Thank you. Thanks
Awesome.
again.
Thanks, guys.
Aloha.